I knew from that day on that this was going to be a mission for me until I know something different. The only thing I remember about that entire day is parking my rent car at the airport when I returned. Totally blank on everything else.
Ambulance, what is the address of the emergency?
Hi, this is Lynn, Airport Police.
Yes.
3600 Presidential, here at the airport.
Okay. And what is the problem? Tell me exactly what happened.
We have a male subject with some kind of seizure. They're going to need y'all as soon as possible. He's on the ground. They're rolling him over.
Okay, I do have help on the way. Do you have your EMTs with him?
Yeah, and they're calling for an AED, so it might be a heart attack. I'm not sure.
They are calling for an AED?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Did they say that he was definitely having a seizure, or did they say that he was in cardiac arrest?
Well, somebody called and said that he was having a seizure. The officer who is EMT got down there, and he said get an AED.
Hands to patient's bare chest. Plug in hands connector next to...
Okay, is he breathing?
It looks like he is. I don't know. I can't tell.
Okay, did you see what happened?
No. Our screening checkpoint just called us and said they're putting the pads on him.
Okay. The EMTs are with him now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I do have the help on the way. I have the paramedics and the fire department responding.
Yeah, we already called.
Okay, great. If you happen to get someone closer to him or get any more information, give me a call back as soon as possible.
Everything's clear. We got deep in for shot. Come on.
Shock advised.
Everybody clear, ready?
Charging. Stay clear of patient. Deliver shock
I'm at the
now.
BVM when y'all get a chance.
Press the orange shock delivered.
Everyone stay back.
Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the
I'm at the
patient.
BVM. What's the BVM? What's the BVM? The bag down there. It's right there.
Analyzing heart rhythm.
You got a fistula. You want to start CPR?
No shock advised. It is safe to touch the
You started on
patient.
the oxygen?
Check airway. Check breathing.
Give me the other
Check
part.
pulse.
Give me the other part. The mask.
If needed, begin CPR.
Three, right behind you. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Give me 2 breaths. Give me 2 breaths. Just throw his head back. You need to help his head. Cut his head back. 2 breaths. Okay, start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Breathe. Go ahead. Give me 2. Open his mouth.
I got a call at checkpoint 2, which is right above us, that a man was having a seizure at one of the checkpoints. And then one of the guys said, hey, he's over here, and I don't think he's breathing. So I walked over and said, well, let's flip him over, turned him over, realized he was in cardiac arrest. At that time, I called for a medical bag and an AED. We initiated CPR, put the AED on, realized he was in VFib, went ahead and shocked. He went into an asystole rhythm, flat line, what everyone calls a flat line. We started CPR again. A couple of the other officers, after I was tired, helped him with CPR. Then the fire department showed up and they helped. And then I looked at the monitor on the AED and realized that we were getting a rhythm back, and I stopped CPR. We felt a pulse. He was starting to breathe a little bit on his own.
In my situation there, in Austin, I had no signs. Cardiac arrest differs. You don't have the chest pains, and you don't, at least I didn't. I didn't have chest pains. I didn't have anything that warned me. And my heart just sped up so much that it just quit.
The first responders had said that they had shocked with an AED before we arrived, and that they had regained pulses shortly before we got there.
They had told my wife that they didn't think that if I lasted through the night, they didn't know if I'd make it another day.
Mr. Terry was just so fortunate to have been in a situation where he was in a public place. There was an automatic external defibrillator available. People took care of him very rapidly and converted his heart to a normal rhythm, and that's what saved his life.
Many of you may have read about this in the newspaper, but I just want to share with you that in March, was it, Gary? You remember the date, I'm sure. During one of his visits down here to the Capitol, he was returning up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He was waiting for his flight to board at the Austin airport, where he suffered a heart attack. Fortunately for him and for all of us, Gary's life was saved because the Austin Bergstrom Airport was one of the first airports in the nation to have installed one of these automatic defibrillators that Mr. Terry is holding up right there. Members, his life was saved right there at the airport by the very device that he just held up and is advocating.
One of our top 5 goals that we had when I was chairman at the affiliate was to place AEDs in high traffic areas.
Gary Terry worked with me on legislation that I had that really expanded our Good Samaritan law in Texas to provide protection for individuals who utilized automatic external defibrillators. And then this session filed legislation that would allow the General Services Commission to look at a statewide plan to install AED devices in state buildings. Gary was down here helping with that legislation when his incident occurred.
We chose to approach the airports first, and the Austin airport was the first in Texas to put AEDs in. And so 8 months later I was tickled to death that they had, because I fell about 18 feet from where one of those AEDs was positioned.
I think are a great example for the rest of us to give of ourselves and make the world a better place. Now, I don't think Gary knew that when he was making the world a better place, he was going to be one of the first persons that was going to be impacted by his actions.
If there's a message that can be taken back, it needs to be education is key, because and you can't just do it once. You got to educate, you got to educate, you got to educate, you got to educate. And every time you educate, it'll sink into somebody. And if you just get one, you just keep going and you keep going until we get them all.